It's been quite a while. It's actually been a few months since I've done a video. I've been just totally busy. I've been programming, taking care of kids, mainly cooking, dishes, stuff like that. Christmas, winter break, and just everything. Taking up all that time. I actually got this months ago, like several months ago, in a trade. If you watch my guitar collection video, you'll see that I actually had a couple of 80s had a couple of 80s Kramers, the ones that say made in Neptune, New Jersey, right? And I love those guitars very, very much. But I also said, anyone who's watched my other In Bed with Guitars videos, I've said that I'm thinning out my floating tremolo guitars because I've moved more towards the easier to deal with bridges. So I put the red one for sale on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and stuff. I'm not going to do it on eBay because the expense of shipping them and the dangers of guitars being destroyed are prohibitive for me with regards to eBay. Yes, it's a larger audience, but I'd much rather someone come here to get the instrument, and then I will probably not make as much money off the instrument. That's fine. It's a little bit less money in my pocket, but the chance of an instrument being destroyed and returned to me, that kind of veers me away from eBay. And I know like UPS has some cheaper shipping. I think FedEx even has a couple of deals. I usually use the United States Postal Service for pretty much everything. They're the closest to me, and I walk, so I don't. I mean, imagine walking, a 1.5 to 2 miles, and then so that's like about a 3-mile walk round trip, carrying a guitar half the way, all the dangers and everything. So what I'm usually doing is I sell electronics, toys, and things like that on eBay, and the majority of those items will fit in a backpack. And so I just put a backpack on and I trek to the post office, and then I just have it weighed and the cost tallied there. But I'm not ready to do that with guitars. So that being said, I have put guitars up for sale on Craigslist, and had a good deal of success on Craigslist, and also an adventure on Facebook Marketplace. I won't say I would consider Facebook Marketplace to even be legit as far as I've had one deal on Facebook Marketplace, and after that was it. But it was a very interesting deal, and there's a story behind it I'd like to talk about. But this story in particular is with regards to a trade through Craigslist. Now, when I go on Craigslist, of course, I'm looking to make money. I don't want to trade because I have, almost 30 guitars, which is too much for me. I love to play guitar and make music all the time, but I don't need 30 guitars, and I haven't purchased any new guitars in a couple of years. It's been a year or so since I've purchased any new guitars, and I'm veering off that. Now this guitar though, you know how there are things in your life that you see that you would never intentionally buy, but then if the opportunity came up to get it, you would take that opportunity. Right. Well, in this particular case, a gentleman contacted me through Craigslist, said, okay, the guitar you have, he said, and it was the red Floyd Rose Floating Tremolo Striker series from the 80s or early 90s, Kramer ST, a super nice guitar. I mean, it was like brand new. The guitar was, it really was like it had never been played. I gave it a complete setup. I adjusted the spring tensions and cleaned it up thoroughly. I, did the frets. I did every bit of this guitar to get it as good as I possibly could. And I really loved it. But, like I said, I'm steering away from those Floyd Rose floating tremolos. I have a few of them that I'll never get rid of because I just totally love them, like my Edge 3 and my Mitchell. But then I don't really plan on buying any new floating tremolo guitars. I like the easier to deal with tremolos. I don't do much bending, and if I do, I can get forward and backwards bending with a float adjusted Fender style, or with a with other bridges that are simpler and easier to use, right? Like the Wilkinson bridges that float. They can float slightly above, and you get up and down action with those, and they're really smooth, and I believe they sound good. A lot of people don't like the Wilkinsons. I've had very good experience with Wilkinson products. I've said that in my videos before. So, back on the subject at hand, he contacted me and he said something. He said, the guitar you have, the red Kramer, 80s Kramer Striker, he said, that is the exact same guitar that I started with. He said it was like my first good guitar. He said I played it constantly. I loved the guitar. And he said, okay, what I've got is a Slash Epiphone. And he said, it's brand new. He said it's been played like once or twice. Got the case, it's from Sweetwater, got all the paperwork and everything. Will you just do a swap? We'll just trade right out, right? I said, okay, sure, why not? I gave it a little bit of thought because I really did this for money. But in this particular case, it was that situation where a thing that I would never choose to buy, but when it was presented to me as a trade opportunity, I thought, okay, why not? And I'm like a lot of people. I watch Chibson videos constantly. I also watch Gibson videos. I'm of the opinion that Gibsons are, most of the value of the instrument is in the name, and that they are certainly not actually worth, $2,500 to $3,000 or more for their instruments. I'm not even going to buy that for a second, But the resale value of the instruments, of course, is very high. But at the story of Epiphone, they were making similar quality. Gibson bought them so they could make the budget line and entry level and intermediate. But what ended up happening is the Epiphone guitars became very popular, especially for touring musicians who didn't want to take an extremely valuable guitar out in the open world where it could easily be stolen or broken, and they knew that if they had between $600 and upwards of $1,200 invested in the instrument, that would be redeemable in case the instrument is destroyed or fails or is stolen or all the other terrible things, and an accident happens or whatever. So in this case, my love for Chibsons and my desire to have a Gibson type of guitar, which I've always wanted a Goldtop Gibson. I've just always wanted one. And I played a black Gibson LP that was, probably well over $3,000 plus back when I was a teenager. I had a friend whose dad had one, and my friend didn't play at all. But then when his dad found out that I played guitar, he came up and goes, "Oh, Ronnie told me you actually play guitar." And I said, "Yeah, I play." He goes, "Well, you want to see what I got?" And I said, "Oh, sure." So we go in his room, right? And he pulls out this, an absolutely gorgeous black Les Paul. And he lets me play it. I played it many, many times. And I got a good feel for it. And, we're talking about a completely dialed in, exceptionally high-grade instrument. So yeah, I've played vintage, expensive instruments, and I've owned a couple, but never Gibson or Fender expensive ones. I actually got to play a Flying V that was like from the 60s when I was in California briefly, staying with my real dad for a couple of months. His neighbor, this guy named Gilbert, who actually was with my dad's wife, after he passed away very shortly after I left. It was a matter of a couple of years. He died young, from what I hear. And then I saw pictures. I was looking up information about my dad's wife, Delia, and you know, he stayed in California with her, and my mom left. So I didn't know my dad at all. He was never a part of my life, never gave me a red cent, and I didn't know him. But then I you know, had an adventure, I guess, where I kind of got in a little tiny bit of trouble, and so my mom sent me to California. Apparently this was confirmation that I was bad, like my father. And just to sum it up, I was on a roof above my apartment, and the police came and busted me, a drug dealer who lived next door to me, my best friend who was bordering suicidal, and a whole bunch of girls that my drug dealer neighbor's sister had brought up there were all up there. I didn't know any of them. I barely knew his sister, only by name, and he was my neighbor. They had someone break into his apartment, but they thought it was my apartment. And they went up there and they said, Caraway, if there's drugs up here, we're going to find it. Or if there's weed up here, we're going to find it. That's what they said. So apparently this was supposed to be like a drug bust. But then they found out that my apartment was actually the one next to his, and then they busted my neighbor. I got in trouble. They called my mom, and she said, lock him up and throw away the key, right? Which is insane, because for real, literally, I was on a roof doing nothing. I was sitting next to my friend who was right on the edge of the roof looking down at the sidewalk. This guy who, you know, I was afraid he was just going to decide to leave us all at that very moment. You get worried about people when you care about them, and then they, you know, are self-harm, right? They do stuff like that. Not a subject I want to delve into too much. You know, everybody thinks about things like that once or twice in their life, but when it dominates your thinking or your actions, then of course they need special attention. You know, they need love and considerations and things. Anyway, when I went to California, Gilbert let me play a Marshall Stack and a Flying V Vintage, totally 100% perfect. And I would stand in my dad's garage and just blast on this guitar with everything cranked up. It was so much fun. I hate to get personal about that, but you know, I'm just telling the story to build up to the moments where I had in my life actually played vintage, rare, and exceedingly valuable. Both of those instruments today would be worth, you know, tens of thousands of dollars or more. You know, we're talking instruments where, you know, you could probably sell them and get a house, you know, or something crazy like that. You get a brand new car or something for the value of it. This is not that. This is your... now I thought this was a November burst. Whenever I looked up pictures, this looked like a November burst, but it has all the paperwork. It has the case, like I said, the little plush lined case, all the stuff that these come with. It is a Slash, so it has the signature headstock, which I'm actually thinking of buying a replacement cover panel for this to make it look like a standard. Not that I have anything against Slash, he's great and everything, but you know, just in case I ever choose to play this and be seen, just changing that panel and you wouldn't even know this wasn't an Epiphone standard. It's got your Slash graphics on the back and a quality control sticker. You've got the tuners and you know, everything. Obviously, it is a Les Paul, a Gibson Les Paul clone that's licensed. So I have yet to own an illegal Gibson. I have yet to own a Chibson guitar. But on that note, I will say this. This guitar, as it is, I don't know if it's actually been, you know, it's had their, whatever, their inspections that they do, whatever it is, 50 point, 60 point, whatever point inspections that Sweetwater does for all their instruments. But I'll just say that for my liking, this is a high-strung instrument. It's a little higher action than what I like. I've never really liked the Tune-o-matic style bridge. I usually replace this with a roller bridge because it relieves this catch point where the strings can kind of scoot and detune from tension. The nut seems to be cut great. It's nice and low. I don't think the nut needs to get any lower, but I would like to try to lower the action on the instrument. Nice humbuckers. I'm going to go ahead and test those real quick just to show what kind of output we're getting on the humbuckers. So I have this cute little device I got from Temu, or as the Brits like to call it, Temu. Okay, I'm going to plug this in, and we'll just kind of look at what kind of output. Now we have it on rhythm top, which was bridge, or which is neck pickup. I've got a cord hooked up here, and I'm just going to touch. Got my my probes here, and we're just going to touch here and here, and okay, let's see here. There we go. And we're leveling out at 8.6, and it's kind of going here and there. Let me see something. Okay, yeah. So we're looking at about 8.6. Okay. I don't know if you can see, if anyone can see that. I'll go ahead and hold it up here. There we go. 8.5, 8.4. Okay. So now this will be, I always watch on a big wide screen. So for me, when I finally put this up on YouTube, I will probably be able to see those numbers. But if you can't, maybe you're on a smartphone or something like most people. So let's go ahead and switch it. Middle point, and what this should do is halve. And there we go, 4.16, 4.14. So we're looking at about an even 4.15. Okay, for the halfway point, which is combining both. Then we're going to go up here to the treble, I guess is what it says there, which makes sense because on your bridge it's going to be sharper. And we'll test this, and we're going to have a very similar 8 point something. I think I'm creating static interference by having this on this cushy. So I think I might put it, here we go. Hold it up in the air here. But this is a auto adjusting, there we go, 8.5. Okay, so slightly higher, just a tiny slightly higher than the neck. But yeah, this is a automatic adjusting multimeter, whatever you want to call it, that I got from Temu. Isn't it fun listening to British people? Just listening to them talk. I heard a guy the other day that I really like. He's a vegan, like me, and he does really great videos. He was talking about methane, right? Methane emissions, how methane emissions actually are very dangerous and more damaging than the other types of emissions that we're talking about, because they change the temperature faster, things like that. They need more sequestration to balance them out. And he said, and this is how British people pronounce it. He said methane. He kept saying methane over and over again. This is too much methane and the effects of methane. And I'm like, we of course we pronounce it methane, right? And then I'm like, would you say that a person is addicted to crystal meth? I don't think so. So they have hilarious little bends on their words, like aluminium. Okay, whatever. Maybe it's spelled or seems to want to sound that way, but I say aluminum, but aluminium, right? Aluminium. So yeah, I got a multimeter, and from Temu, what they call Temu. Like they just have to mess words up. Anyway, so this guitar seems to be, that's brand spanking new. It's just like, it is brand spanking new, like fresh out of Sweetwater. Now there's a Sweetwater place here. I think their main base is here in Indiana, and I always thought of them as, a very expensive route to go with instruments, but they are also, quality driven. Like they give you setup kind of points of inspection, warranties. I think the resale value is going to be more secure with your purchases through them. So there are reasons, right? There are reasons you want to go through Sweetwater. We've bought several things through Sweetwater, but I never bought a guitar from Sweetwater. Usually it's, I don't know, drumsticks, maybe guitar strings, things like that. And they send candy. They always send you like, I don't know, bit of honeys. I can't eat those. They have honey in them. They send a lot of candy. Tootsie Rolls, I can't eat those. I don't eat that stuff. So a lot of it's wasted on me, but maybe I'll give it to my mother-in-law or someone I know that's a vegetarian but not a vegan, or someone that's not a vegan or vegetarian that's related to me will get that stuff. But yeah, in case you've ever purchased from Sweetwater, they usually send a tiny bag of candy with every purchase. Just for fun. Now this guitar retails for, I think, $800 plus US dollars. It's not cheap. This is the most expensive instrument that I have, I think. But I will say this. My other LP, which is a Washburn Oscar Schmidt Goldtop with Dragon Inlay, when I first got it, it was, high strung. It didn't play well. It sounded okay, but it had the same catchy kind of stuff with the little saddles on the Tune-o-matic copy bridge that it had and everything. But after complete setup, fretwork, and putting on a roller bridge, adjusting the action, all the little setup things that I did to the Oscar Schmidt Washburn, it is a better playing instrument and a better sounding instrument than this Epiphone. And it was, a couple of $100, maybe $250 to $300 when I first got it. I'd seen it recently for between $450 to $500, and I think that's more because the guitar is rare. I've also heard, stories that Oscar Schmidt was given the cease and desist by Gibson. Okay, so to earmark this video with a date, the LA wildfires just happened, and Trump was elected president for the second time. He's about to take office. This is 2025. This is a brand new video, and Gibson had given Trump a cease and desist, given the company that makes Trump guitars a cease and desist, and what they're making are very inexpensive. I think they determined they were actually made in India, though. Like, there's a lot of people saying, oh, it's, cheap Chinese garbage or something, but I believe they're actually made in India, which might put them on a higher level of quality scale than the cheaper Chinese instruments. But just like the Strat style instruments have essentially flooded the market with clones with varying degrees of quality, the LP clones have now began to dominate the market. The Chibsons are reaching a higher standard of quality that is meeting near the level of quality that you'd get with an Epiphone. They're also newer, one piece and also bolt-on neck LPs that are between $150 to $200, which is incredible. It's incredible to approach that type of price with a Les Paul style guitar. We have the intricate shape of the arch top. You have the it needs four pots with the dye and green or orange capacitors. It has the the little cool what they call a poker chip style design for the switch. It's a certain type of switch. It's a more expensive instrument when you get into the components. So I watched a video recently. A guy got a cheap one. He got a Chibson, and now, okay, for people who maybe they are watching this and they don't know so much about all that, a Chibson is a counterfeit Gibson made in China. Not just an LP style guitar, but the headstock imitates the Gibson style. Sometimes the neck angle imitates the Gibson style. More often it imitates the Epiphone style, but also they are branded Gibson. They are stamped made in the USA erroneously. They are given a often used but fake serial number on the headstock. People joke in the forums saying that their Chibson had the same fake serial number as another Chibson that they saw an image of online. So they're fake Gibson Les Pauls, and they say Les Paul, they say Gibson. Now the majority of them, if I'm correct in this, have the lighter angled headstock that is found on Epiphones, but some of them have the more aggressive angled headstock that's found on actual Gibsons. Now, people who wonder, now recently there was a bust where they were claiming that some bureau, like an investigation bureau, had halted and seized the largest cache of Chibsons ever. And they had mountains of boxes behind them. They were, endless. Now, and in all honesty, they're not even scratching the surface. They could bust a warehouse with 10,000 Chibsons in it, and you're not even coming anywhere near close to the level of permeation that Chinese fake Gibsons have achieved. But that being said, they claimed in this video that this was to stop fraud. Now, and I'm just gonna make this abundantly clear. The level of fraud that happens with Chinese-made Gibsons is nearly zero, because people who buy Gibsons know what they're buying, usually. People who buy Gibsons know what to look for, usually. They know that they're not going to pay $200 or $300 for an actual Gibson, and you're never going to pay more than a couple of $100 for a Chibson. So if someone out there thinks, oh, China's evil because someone's buying Chinese Gibsons and selling them like they're real Gibsons, that is not happening. If you are so stupid that you are looking for an actual real Gibson and you don't know what to look for, and you actually find a Gibson and it says it's maybe, okay, I'll just throw a number out there that's unrealistic. It says it's $500, but it's an actual real Gibson Goldtop. And then you go, oh, I'm going to buy this real Gibson Goldtop for $500. I just got to, oh, this is fake. Somebody ripped me off, right? That is not happening enough to warrant the seizure of tens of thousands of Chibsons. What that's doing, in reality, is it's weeding out stupid buyers. It is raising the value of legitimate Gibson products. It is pointing out the differences between in quality and in resale and usability and everything, overall quality of actual real Gibson guitars. So, I can try to explain why. I think for the sake of brevity on the subject, the more of a fake thing there is, the more valuable the real thing is. Now, let's talk about morals and things like that with regards to it. If I buy a Chibson, I know it's a Chibson. If I buy an actual real Gibson, there are certain things to look for, and I'll talk about that briefly before I get into the morals. Real Gibsons that are Les Pauls, that have the arch tops, that have the binding, that have the knobs that are like this or different, that have maybe they have P90s, soap bar pickups, the actual Tune-o-matic setup here. They'll have little plastic binding nibs on the sides of every fret. Usually, these are not removed unless done by a professional luthier throughout the life of a real Gibson instrument. So, if you don't see nibs on it, that is an indicator that it might be fake, right? The fret going to the very edge where it meets the binding, that's usually not on actual real Gibsons. Even if the nibs were cut down, unless it's been completely refretted, which often comes along with those nibs being removed, the frets themselves will actually be within the confines of the binding. Okay, so those are some giveaways. The neck angle on a Gibson is much sharper, so your neck is bending maybe like this for your Epiphone, and it's way down like that for a Gibson. Gibsons are notoriously fragile around the headstock. If they fall and the headstock is hit, they will snap in a particularly noticeable way all the time, and there's a whole business of repairing those. This Epiphone has a less pronounced angle, that it would be greater angle were it an actual Gibson. Okay. Of course, the pickups are going to be certain pickups. They have fake Chinese P90s. Now, the quality. There are people out there who do videos and they talk about how they love their Chibson. I've seen several videos of people who own real Gibsons. They show them. Sometimes they show information about them to prove it. Sometimes they'll go through the details to prove that it's real. And they own Chibsons and they compare them. Usually they have set up, upgraded, or otherwise perfected the Chibson, and they'll say things like, "This plays as good as any of my US Gibsons." Sometimes there are videos where people say, "This Chibson I bought is junk," and usually those people seem to be over promoting Gibson, or possibly even doing what they're doing for Gibson. Now, as far as morals go, Gibson is a powerful name and a very powerful company that involves middle to upper income, often professional artists, but they also have been seen destroying their own instruments. Sometimes they order retailers to destroy their instruments, and there will actually be intentionally destroyed Gibsons in dumpsters. There's a notorious video of Gibson with a tractor, like a tractor trailer construction vehicle, running over a row of what must be, several dozen Gibson guitars. So where's the morality in that? Why are you destroying these precious instruments rather than just selling them at a discount? They have prices that they regulate. If dealers don't keep them, they are, in trouble. They won't deal with them, or they'll get in trouble. And that's how it is with the big names. So in China, The Chinese knockoff Gibsons are made in very similar or the same factories as these Epiphones by skilled workers using a lot of machining with very little hands-on. They have a standard that they try to meet, and that is reflected in the price. This $800+ guitar is not extremely far off from the quality of a $300 to $400 Chibson knockoff instrument. You're paying for the Epiphone name, the resale ability, the experience, and stuff like that. Now, there are professional artists who use Epiphone instruments live on stage that are the same quality of this instrument. But as I was just elaborating, my Washburn actually plays better than this one. I have not set this instrument up. I have done nothing. I might have tried to lower the bridge slightly just to bring the fat E down just a hair, because I thought immediately, wow, this guitar is high strung. But I think that's really how they do it. You know, they do this instrument that way. So I'm going to get this little card, and I know I'm blathering. I'm just talking and talking today. I had my coffee. I didn't sleep well last night because I had a bat come down from my attic and hit my attic door. There's a window on my door going up to my attic. And first off, those little bastards are supposed to be sleeping right now. They're supposed to be roosting and in a hibernation type of inactive phase when it is, you know, but freezingly cold outside. Right now it's 15 degrees with a wind chill factor making it about 2 degrees outside. We have half a foot of snow everywhere. The bat should not be flying around. But I've had raccoons getting in a hole in my roof, mating, freaking out, fighting, you know, WWE wrestling with each other on the roof. And I think that woke up a roosting bat. And it said, hey, I'm going to go bother you. And to prepare for this, I shut the door, but then I put like a plastic tube at the bottom of the door, a gap where they will crawl through that gap at the bottom of your door. And I put an old broken down Xbox 360 up against it, kind of angled. That way they can't just push the tube and then come into my room. And it was trying to get in under the door. When it couldn't, it was hitting the window of the door. I came in with a flashlight and pointed it at his head. I said, hey, you need to go back out the hole that you came in. And it turned around and flew upstairs, and then I didn't see it again. I didn't hear it again. But, of course, I didn't sleep. Because for me, I'm laying there going, there's a bat in my attic trying to get in here. And I've woke up with bats on me. I've woke up with bats sleeping on my back. I've woke up with bats hitting me in the head. And for whatever reason, bats fly at my head. They're supposed to avoid you. There's videos of people standing there with bats flying around them in circles and never intruding. Bats fly at my head. For whatever reason, they want to hit me in the head. They want to sleep on me. They want to get on me and stuff. And I don't particularly like bats. I don't want them in my home. I don't want them flying at my face. So, I'm running on caffeine and about an hour and a half of sleep. And I decided I'm going to go ahead and get this video going to introduce this precious instrument here, this Epiphone Slash Edition Les Paul. I think it's the November burst. Someone tell me if it's not. This is a burst. It's a kind of teardrop burst. I think it's the same color. And I think this is a November burst. I might be wrong. Which, of course, if you don't know, that's based on the November Rain song, I think, by Guns N' Roses. This Slash is the guitarist for Guns N' Roses, who is known for wearing like a voodoo priest top hat. He's got some cool tats. He has some really magnetic, iconic riffs that everyone remembers him for. And okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and just look. This is just a cutout, but I'm actually going to compare the reading of it with a calipers. All right, let's see here. We're looking at the 7th, and it looks like 2. And this might not actually be accurate. And then as we're getting closer, it looks like it goes to maybe 1.5, which is an indication of some forward bow, some concave going on. Also, I'm feeling here, and these are a little sharp. There's a little bit of sharpness on the frets up past the top, a little bit here. As I'm feeling down, there's definitely some sharpness, and this could be, yeah, these frets need dress. These frets definitely need some work. If I was Philip McKnight with a nylon on my hand, the nylons would be shark tooth shredded by the condition of the edges of these frets. These frets are worse than my Washburn Oscar Schmidt LP was out of the box. And I think this sprouting may have happened towards the end of the summer when I first got this instrument. I will say the nut looks really good. As I'm pushing down, there's a little room. It might do for a tiny bit, but you know, from what I'm seeing here, not enough to warrant breaking out the files. I don't think the nut needs any work. I think it's okay. And the pickup height, I think, might need to be adjusted. It's high up here towards the bridge where it would be sharper and nastier. It might do to lower this, and then if I want more warmth and more presence at the neck, I might want to raise this, but I think this was how it came. So I'm going to check with my caliper just to see. Now my caliper battery ran out, but of course it has visible measurements. And yep, it's at 2. So we're looking at 2, and at the top here, see if I can't lower it. About 1, yeah, a little over 1.5. So the string action is okay, but slightly higher than what I would want. I don't like buzzing frets, but I don't like high strings, so you know, you're in a world of flux with that. You're always going to be, you know, trying to achieve a better situation with your string height. I don't like high-strung guitars, but I also don't like really buzzy, scratchy stuff with my instruments. Okay, and this is a beautiful guitar. I really like it. My favorite Les Paul of all is a Goldtop. I also like black and stuff, and the burst thing is, you know, creeping up on me. In my first, you know, from my youth up, I had a policy that all my guitars had to look like Spree candy. They had to look like a bright orange, bright red. Black was okay as long as it was solid. I didn't like wood grain appearance on any of my guitars. I didn't like grain. I didn't like burst. I didn't like, you know, anything like that. But then gradually I kind of got into it and was, you know, basically I got to the point after having, you know, many dozens of guitars over my life that I've owned and set up and sold and traded and played and kept, or whatever situation, come to that, you know, maturation, that realization that it doesn't matter at all. And that's really just crap to even be that way. And so now, you know, probably one of my top 5 favorite guitars is actually a Strat style with a burst. And this guitar is my first LP with a burst. This is not a Chibson. It is an Epiphone. I don't think this is a fake Chinese guitar. I mean, imagine the level of, just imagine, if you will, the level of deception that this guy would have had to inflict upon me for this to be a Chinese knockoff. First off, it'd be a Chinese knockoff of an Epiphone, but which you never see those because Epiphones are Chinese anyway. And also, he would have to fake a mountain of Sweetwater paperwork and everything to go with it. So no, this is a real Epiphone. It needs fretwork. It needs some work done. Let me see. It's way out of tune. You can tell the temperature's had its way with it. The fretboard is dry. I'm looking at it. The fretboard is dry. It needs saturation. It needs some oil. This needs a setup. That's what I need to do. Now, I'm on the bench here whether I should bother setting this up with this bridge on it, because in my mind I'm saying roller bridge, because you know you got to do that if you ever have one of these guitars. This guy is a mess. Okay, it's you know 40s and 50s technology where you know metal is meeting metal, and then when you get this round wound kind of slinky wraparound of the string, this snags. You know, you don't want snag points. The snag points are always going to cause detuning and string degradation and lower quality sound. Even on a $3,000 Gibson that has this same type of setup, this is going to be a snag point. You can lube it, you can file it, you can toy with it, adjust it and all that stuff, but this is a snag point no matter what. A roller bridge replaces the saddle with a rolling metal top. Sometimes brass, chromed, whatever it's going to be, some type of, you know, metal. And then this moves easily right along top of that metal, and it makes a smoother sound, it adds resonance, it adds sustain, and holds tune better. And they're usually not expensive. I've seen the prices vary. Pretty good. A lot of talk in this video, but I would like to go ahead and try to set up this instrument. I'm already pushing almost 50 minutes on this video, which I have big long videos. I don't care. We'll go ahead and compare it with this. Now, this instrument is lighter. I'll just tell you right away, the Oscar Schmidt is considerably lighter. It's a much, much lighter instrument than the Epiphone. The Epiphone, I think this is a 8-pound instrument. Let me see. Also not in tune. Action's lower. I love this guitar. I mean, I'll just tell you, I love it. I love how it plays. I love absolutely everything about it. Oscar Schmidt got the cease and desist. Now, what's good about Oscar Schmidt? Well, what's bad about the other guys? Well, they all sold out. Jackson was its own thing. Then they got bought by Fender. Epiphone was its own thing, got bought by Gibson. Kramer was its own thing, got bought by Gibson. But Washburn was part of a different thing. Music something, like a musical instrument corporation or something like that. They're a third hand in the big companies, and so maybe you're like, I don't want to support the two big money grubbing, guitar destroying, cease and desist issuing practices of these uber expensive, you know, elitist boutique instrument sellers. I don't want to be them. So I don't want a Gibson. I don't want to, I'm not saying I don't, but this is you know, hypothetical here. You don't want to buy from the big two that have gobbled up all of the smaller companies. Then you can get a Washburn, and you won't be supporting them. Oh, see, and I heard a popping noise here. of an adjustment at my nut, which may be a little too much catchiness on the nut, meaning I either can lubricate it with some graphite or I can file it, depending on how catchy it is. These are the strings that came on this guitar. I've never replaced them. And we've got a good, little bit low here. I like the tuning machines. The tuning machines on the Epiphone are excellent. They are some of the best tuning machines I've ever used. That I didn't replace. They are Epiphone Deluxe is what they are branded, but they resemble the original Clusons that you would find on Gibsons. Okay, let's go ahead and here. So. You hear a little bit of buzzy, even though it's high strung. Snappy, kind of scratchy. Definitely needs fret. Now, these frets are not jumbo. I don't even know if I'd go so far as to say they're medium jumbo. They might actually be some pretty low, small frets. The frets are visibly larger on the Washburn. I'm hearing shifting in the nut as I bend. I just heard a little snappy kind of shifting. So. Cute. Now, as you can see, this is a roller bridge. It's cooler, rounded. It's got the brassy colored rolling. It's got better adjustments for intonation. This is easier for intonation. I actually had to remove pegs, install dowel rods, re-drill for this. I don't know if that would be necessary on the Epiphone. The Epiphone might actually match with the pins, and so it would just be a kind of a drop-in scenario here. I didn't replace this because it's the same. This is the same part. I just went ahead and kept the same one on there, I think. Maybe I did replace it. I didn't replace this, though, but I did have to, you know, dowel up this on the body. So here, what are these for? What are these for? Yes, they're good for distortion. They're good for anything except, you know, crazy, weird, eccentric bending. Like if you're playing something that's going, no, maybe not, right? But what they excel at is clean. You know, playing something really clean and vibrant. So getting one of these guitars with a lot of buzzy, scratchy stuff going on doesn't help. You want it to be a nice, smooth, resonant, good sustain, vibrant, clean sounding instrument. Where a Strat may always be super heavy, gritty, noisy distortion, and so you're never hearing any kind of buzzing or anything, regardless of whether it's present. You want to be able to go really clean, bluesy, country, jazzy, vibrant, good sustain, acoustic resonance from one of these Les Paul instruments. So I can tell already it's not bad, but it's scratchy. I can feel some scratchiness on the frets. I don't know if you can hear that, but Scratchiness. There's scratchiness. Frets need done. Now this doesn't have scratch plate. No scratch plate. It wasn't removed. It never came with one. That's, I guess, Slash design. And of course, Slash, if I'm correct in this, he didn't go buy a Gibson from a place. He had a custom made guitar made I think by either Heritage Gibson or something like that, luthier. He had his guitar made. So you're not going to Gibson and going, give me a Slash guitar. This is just like a Slash guitar. He had his, if I'm correct in this, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess, Slash's instrument is a custom-made Gibson Les Paul. I don't think it's an Epiphone. There are many artists who use Epiphones live, and I've heard a lot of praise over the Slash series Epiphones. But I've also heard that they're essentially just a Les Paul standard Epiphone with some stamps on it, okay? And that they're not any different. This one needs set up, I can tell you right now. It needs the frets done big time. I'm going to check it here in a second. So here we're getting an orchestrated G. Good sustain, good resonance. Little scratchy, little vibraty, which can be worked out. So yeah, it's okay, but it definitely needs some work. This, with whatever point inspection they did, this is still not stage worthy out of the box. This needs work to be done, or it's going to be a buzzy, high-strung, scratchy mess. And I'm willing to do that. Of course, I'm willing to do. I did that with this. Now we're going to listen to the Oscar Schmidt. I don't even know if you can hear this because I'm not. This is not amplified, and I'm just kind of pointing it at the camera. So we'll go ahead and give it a quick tune-up. Now this one, the tuning machines are not as good. They're closed back. They're not even rounded. They're not trying to imitate anybody. It's a stock left and right cheap closed back entry-level tuners. Heard a little bit of scratchiness. Now I've done the nut on this one. Did the frets, did the fret edges, did the truss rod, adjusted the pickup heights, intonated the guitar, which I'm not entirely sure that the Epiphone is intonated. I thought that the G sounded a little bit funky when I went back down towards the nut, which could indicate that it is not intonated. Usually you'll hear the G because it likes to sound like crap if it's even just a little bit off. Okay. Now we're going to do the same stuff. Hear it? way, way, way cleaner, not as scratchy, so it is getting kind of a, oh no, let's see. There we go. Hear that? Now I'm going to check the tuning again real quick. I think my hand might have warmed it up. Let me see here. A is still slightly low. This guitar hangs on my wall too. Sometimes I wonder. Someone said, I was talking to in chat once, actually a woman with a music degree who's written compositions. She had to write piano compositions to graduate and get her music degree. And I showed her pictures of my wall with guitars, and she said, "Oh, I don't know about hanging them on the wall. I don't know. I don't like hanging them on the wall." And I said, "Well, have you ever been to a music store before? That they always hang them on the wall. They're hung up on the wall at a music store." But the question is, does hanging the guitar on the wall give undue stress to the neck? Does it give it increase the chance of the neck warping? Does it make the neck twist? Does it do something to the truss rod? Does it do something to the headstock? Does it warp near the body where there would be a lot of weight on it and stuff? And I'm sure the majority of enthusiasts will say the device is too rigid for that to matter. The device is just too rigid. Wood is too rigid for it to matter. And I think that's probably correct, that it's just too rigid for hanging it on the wall to really affect it at all. Now, of course, with nitrocellulose finish, some of the foam used on the hangers will react to that. And if you put a real Gibson and hang it from a cheap nitrocellulose hook on the wall, it will eat away and it will fade and kind of react to the lacquer. So that's something bad that can happen. But as far as it contributing to neck twisting, neck warping, angle, headstock damage, things like that, I really don't think so. Although guitars breathe, yes they do, they adjust. As they get cold and hot, they adjust. Sounds great. I love this guitar. And as I'm feeling this guitar's neck, absolutely no hanging frets, nothing sharp, because I fixed it. No scratchiness on the frets because the frets have been done. The nut is perfect and nice and low because the nut's been filed. The pickup height's adjusted. The bridge is fine-tuned because it's a new bridge that I installed. And you're going to find that when you're putting that much work into an instrument, you've been taught well, or you know what you're doing, you're gonna get those types of results. You're gonna get, and that's what this guy needs. That's what this. And honestly, I gotta say, I'm feeling a little intimidated. Whereas with the Oscar Schmidt, with this beauty right here. I was never intimidated to work on it. I think I paid $250, maybe $230 or something dollars for it. It went up in value from the cease and desist and the rarity. I've seen it anywhere between $350 to $500 asked or more for this instrument now. The Dragon Inlay and other versions of the Oscar Schmidt Washburn Goldtop LP. But even still, I was never intimidated to work on this instrument. This near $1,000 instrument intimidates me. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to scratch it. I don't want to do anything to it that will affect the resellability, even though I may never resell it. I didn't buy it to resell it. I traded a Kramer for it. I am, as a guitar tech worker, intimidated by this instrument. I don't want to harm it at all. But that being said, if I'm going to play it, it has to be worthy of that. So, and it's not there yet. And the majority of the instruments that I've gotten had to be set up, and a lot of work had to be done to them. Usually I don't get one that is like, oh, I just got this guitar and it's so perfect, ready to be played. That has pretty much never happened. It's always, you have to do a good amount of work. And you know, guitar techs love that. They love it that you're going to have to come to them to get all kinds of things done to prepare your instrument. They'll get $100 for getting your instrument ready to go. So let's try here and just see. Oh, maybe it's the other one. There we go. Got our Gibson scale. And yes, definitely some forward bow, some relief. Not a lot though. Actually, now that I'm looking at it from this end, pretty flat. Yeah. Yes, this is right around the between the 5 and 7. Just a ever bit of a hint. Yeah, here a little hint of relief, but not a lot. Huh. Yeah. Just a little tiny bit of relief. So that's good. Well, it could be good. Okay, and then there's of course some work to be done here on these frets. So let's go ahead and check these guys out. Ah. It looks like maybe just a good edging and polishing. It doesn't look like I'm getting any rocking. As I get closer to the 12th fret, that's usually when you run into the rocking, I've noticed. I don't know if that has to do with the inlay work or just the fulcrum type of effect of the stress on the neck where it reaches that point at the 12th fret. But I found when working on guitars, maybe just the tiniest bit there, barely even noticeable. Yeah, on the 12th, that at the 12th is where you find rocking frets. It's like, even if it's well set up, it's like, why is it rocking right there at the 12th? Yeah, the only faintest hint of rocking was at the 12th. That's where we're at with it. Other than that, well, there, yeah, so again, and it's so faint. Yeah, there it is. That's some rocking right there. Okay, yep. As I'm getting up, higher up the neck, and that can really cause buzzing because you're in your lower chords, your cowboy chords, and so as the string is up along the neck, it is not getting a clean pathway to resonate because of that subtle variance in fret height. So yes, 2 points, but they're subtle. They are almost indiscernible, but still there. And it's not enough for a complete, definitely not a complete recrown, you know, level crown polish. That's completely a waste. Up here, right there, just a tiny, tiny bit. But it's so close. It's really so close. And sometimes, excuse me, sometimes when you adjust the relief, it will actually eliminate that because the relief flattens out the neck, and it can have the effect of balancing out the frets. 3 points. Only the very, very slightest here, there. And that's so slight, it's just like, yeah, it's like touch-up level. And it's not there. So as it gets lower, yeah, it's not, and it actually looks like maybe the fret is thinner as it reaches the bottom. So, definitely edging. The edges need it bad. The board looks dry. Needs some lemon oil. I've actually heard respected luthiers, guitar makers saying, "Don't do that." I've also seen people use furniture wax that has oil in it. You know, I've seen it all. I've seen so many different ways of treating this, but I just use the Dunlop lemon oil that they sell to treat these necks, and I haven't had any problems. You want to treat your neck maybe once a year, twice a year at the very, very most, and a lot of people don't ever treat their neck. Maybe they live in a climate where this doesn't breathe as much, or I don't know. I treat them, if I see that the neck is dry, I treat it, and it protects it. It's about longevity, but also it can affect playability. A dry neck feels weird, and it might even affect the sound. I guess it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, the sound's coming off of this neck. It really is. You're pressing down, that's your new note. It's resonating up the neck. The sound is being picked up by the magnets, and any disturbance, any change in resonance, anything like that. Does tone wood affect it? Well, this isn't wood, this is lacquer. And so, you know, I mean, just think about what this lacquer must be doing to the top of the instrument. So wood isn't a part of this. The pickup is you know, set, and the string is vibrating to be picked up by the magnet, but the wood itself likely has little to nothing to do. But then the wood on the neck, this is, you know, whatever, porous, open grain with minimal treatment. I suppose if you have a fender that has where they put the lacquer kind of, or you know, the seal all the way up the neck, that's going to affect. But you know, this needs saturated. So we found 3 points with just the ever slightest bit of touch-up. That will be individual touch-up work. And the edges definitely need done. The guitar, it wants to sound good. I can feel this thing wants to sound good. I want to put a roller bridge on it, but I don't really know if I should go that far. I might go ahead and just leave this on here for now. I do know that it affects the sound because it's going to give, first off, sustain. Second off, tuning stability. Third off, it might actually just give you better vibrational output from the strings. This is a metal trap that's kind of caught the string, whereas a nice smooth concave rolling saddle must allow this to vibrate better, must allow this to tune better, and it does, and the sustain, of course. It's going to improve overall sustain of the instrument. The adjustments, there seems to be just the slightest bit of metal sticking out right here near this. Let me see. It's I don't know what that is. It's part of the design, but it's like a wire. Maybe, I don't think it's a grounding thing. It's actually coming out, and then it's behind this adjustment, and there's one here too. Oh, I see. It goes all the way along the edge of each of the intonating adjustment screws. Okay, so that's there, and maybe that's a sign of a higher quality tune-o-matic style setup here. I like the knobs, like the color. I gotta say, I really like the guitar. As I look at the frets need done really bad. And like I said earlier, I will probably go ahead and put this in the case and put a different knob that says standard or whatever it will say. Get the 3-screw knob. I'll probably be, I don't know if I'll take that quality control sticker off because that might affect resale, but probably not much. And I didn't get this guitar to resell it. This was, as I said, a trade for a guitar I never would have chosen to buy, but because it was offered to me on a trade, and it is considerably more valuable and desirable for me than what I had. Now I still have my blue made in Neptune Kramer, which I liked better. It's not Floyd Rose. It's an even cheaper one, but I love it. I've done a lot of work to it. So I guess that's the theme here, is the intimidation factor of working on what you know is a more valuable instrument. When people say don't buy a cheap crappy guitar, well, if you feel that intimidation factor, it could be that the cheaper the instrument, the more likely you are to make it a better sounding, better playing instrument. If this were a $3,000 Gibson and I were to accidentally scratch the face or somehow screw up a fret or, you know, heaven forbid, drop the thing or something like that, well, that erases several thousands of dollars instead of, and this one is, like I said, between $800 and, you know, almost $1,000. This is almost $1,000 instrument. It's around there. I think right now they're maybe, I don't know, $650 to $800 brand new. And this is a brand new instrument. It's as close to new as it could possibly be. What do I want to do to it? I want to set it up completely, adjust the heights to where I'm happy with it. The frets need polished and cleaned up so they're not scratchy. The edges need filed down so that they're not sharp. The nut might need filed to lower the E string slightly, but I don't know. I don't think so. Love the tuning machines. They're perfect. And it's got that cool Gibson spread legs with butt up in the air shape. That's very similar, but not exactly the same as the Gibson. Look at it. That's a pair of legs spread wide open with the butt sticking up in the air. People say, oh, it's an open book. No, it's not. That's not an open book. That's butt cheeks. That's what that is. Okay. Just checking things out on it. Of course, once I took the strings off, all the tension off the neck, and it is 100% flat. And I checked it standing up with my level, and it had a lot more relief. 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 It had a lot more relief than I at first thought. So this is really taking up a lot of tension. The neck is moving with the tension, which is fine and everything, but I don't know, to adjust it to get a flatter neck, then you're going to have to tweak the truss rod. I went ahead and took the truss rod cover off, the little slash signature truss rod, and for now I'm just doing the basic taken down. So I've already taken down this side completely, and I'm gonna soften it up with some sand, but I've taken all of that off, and then this side, and I've noticed that this is commonplace with these, is the top part. They seem to never hit that top part of the frets enough to really smooth them out on a lot of guitars. I mean, it's just like, it's commonplace. You go in and you notice that for whatever reason the top parts are always sharper. I don't know if they're these guys are in a factory moving thousands and thousands of these. They get the bottom, they miss the pocket, and then especially the top pocket, which your fingers are never going to be there, but still this shouldn't be sharp, and it kind of is. So as I'm going down through these, I can feel right here that's sharp. So I'm going to just take it down. I've already done that side. And now this I use a lot. It's a file. It's flat on this end. It's completely flat. So there's no ridges here at all. So that's not going to damage anything. The harder file's on the opposite side. So I'm using the soft side, and I just let it glide right up on the side of the fret. And then I feel, and I'm trying to make sure that there's nothing really sharp. This is still kind of sharp, but when I hit it with the sanding block, it should help to bring that down. And I'm being extra careful here, as I obviously don't want this. I don't want to leave any marks on the body, and I don't want to mess anything up. There's some not so perfect fret gluing. I noticed this little white spot right here on the top edge as I'm going through, and this is just stuff you find it on expensive guitars too. It just happens. It's not a really big deal, but it is there. And I'll just go in and round off. I'm going to round off the sharp edge. I feel this way first, and then I'm going to flip the file around and then round up the other side. And I'm just taking off the sharper edges of the metal. Yeah, I can really feel it on there. There we go. So yeah, when you have so much change in the relief just by releasing the strings, I don't know if that means it's a softer neck, or if the truss rod is really doing its job there. But suppose you want a perfectly flat neck under string tension, you may even have to give the slightest bit of back bow, to adjust to where you're going to get a flat neck with understring tension. I think these are 10s. I've left the strings on because they're unused, and I might go ahead and change the strings though. But understring tension, when you get a lot of relief, and if you're thinking, how do I straighten it out to where it's nice and flat, then you might need to add some back bow, just the tiniest bit of back bow. And my sanding sponge is going to really help dramatically with this. It's going to help. So for now, I'm not trying to achieve any actual super flat neck. I'm going to keep it the way it is because it went perfectly flat with the relieving the string tension. And I've got my little neck sauce about ready to go on here. There, those are nice. That's not too bad now. There's a little sharp edge. And you don't want a lot, you know, it's basically you get to the point where your touch up test, that's, and you can see that's what I'm doing with my thumb here. If you can see it, I'm taking some material, and it's the absolute tiniest amount, and then I'm testing. I take a tiny bit of material, then I test. Obviously you don't want to overdo it, because you can't put metal back on there, but you don't want sharp fret ends. Now, why does this happen? I've talked about this in earlier videos, and you know, hey, if you can correct me, luthiers, little guitar techs that have done hundreds of guitars and stuff, I am in the understanding here of the situation that when you're in dry and cold, then your wood shrinks, and so your frets shift around, and it makes them pop out the edges. And so by that rationale, that's nice, that's smoother. By that rationale, you want to do your guitar work in cool, dry conditions, maybe even simulate cool, dry conditions. When you notice that the frets are popping out like that, then do all of your fret touch-up work, because once it's cool and it is shrunk up as much as it's going to, and then you get rid of all the sharp edges and you soften the fret ends, that's where it's going to stay. Once it warms up, then your neck will expand and your frets will still be within the neck. So you know, I'm thinking that because of that, if you do your work when it's hot, then you're still going to get frets sprouting and sharp frets when it's cool, because the neck hasn't shrunk as much as it's going to. So here in Indiana we get cold, and it's been an especially cold winter the past week or so, snowstorms and stuff, and so now is the time. Now is a good time for me to go ahead and deal with fret sprout and well, not fret sprout, but the hanging frets. Yes, that's much softer now. I can run my finger up and down here, and it's not as snaggy. But of course, any little tiny bit of like burrowing, you know, edge that's you know, just barely past the edge, because you don't want to, obviously you don't want to affect your binding too much. You don't want to get in that binding. That's why you don't want to use the ridges on the end of it to deal with this. The binding, you don't want to affect it. So this is tiny touch and go just to soften it up. And then try to take off that little pointy edge. And I'm relatively certain from years of doing this that in the warmer months I'm still not going to get it. So this is you know, as your frets wear down, of course, eventually you may have to get new frets or change it, but for the life of the frets, this is a one-time thing when it's cool and you get the neck shrunk up like this. And this could have just happened from being here. Just even though it's been in its little casket plush coffin case over there, it's still going to adjust to the temperature. There's no way. It's like my humidor. I have a cigar humidor, and you know, they're so sensitive. They detect all of the humidity in the air, and if I put it out in the open, then that hygrometer is going to go, hey, it's not humid enough for these cigars. You want 70 or between 65 to 70-ish humidity for those cigars to stay good. So you know, you can watch that the humidity is being affected big time by the weather. And it's no different with the wood on guitars. So even though it's in that case, even though it's protected and everything, and it's got the little plush going on, it's still adjusting and shifting and breathing based on humidity. And here are just the little biters. Yeah, enough to wonder what's going on there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of sanding sponge. Check here. Yeah, that softens it up. And this is a really good tool, cheap, very useful. And a little bit of it's going to soften the edges. Doesn't take too much. You can already see visibly that it is softening the edges of the frets. It's rounding them out. They're not BBs, you know, they're not like guitars with the little soft BB kind of stainless steel frets, but it is, yeah, they're dramatically softer, almost where you want it to be. Now, because it's flattened out, here in a second I'm going to go ahead and run the rocker over the whole thing, and we'll see if the 12 and the 14 and the little assorted rocking we had that was almost imperceivable is actually eliminated by the neck being flat. So, because it probably is. Let's see how that's going. I'm being as careful as I can near the pocket. I don't want the finish to be affected at all. Now, probably be smart to put a bunch of tape or whatever over this, just to make absolutely sure. I've done this 100 times, so I'm good. I'm lining it right up, and yes, very soft. Almost no drag, no sharp stuff, anything like that. There we go. Much, much softer. Still kind of feeling it. When it comes to putting these together, though, somebody's going, whose fingers are there? And no one's fingers. No one's fingers are here. Even though I don't want any of my frets to be hanging or to be sharp or jagged or anything like that. It is true that you're not touching that part of the guitar. And so in the factory, they know when they're working on it to get it done quick. They're not going to worry about that part that's never touched. But then when you're buying a $3,000 guitar, yes, they probably did worry about that significantly more. I got this not touching the face. I'm not touching the front, not touching the top at all. Just the very edge. Just to smooth it out. Okay. All right. So I'm working on it. I think my kids are home now. Hi. I'm actually recording a video right now. I'm working on a guitar. Did you have a good day at school?
Yeah.
Alright. A lot less sharp stuff. Still a little here. And I looked at roller bridges. Probably go for a Wilkinson one, which is a good price. And that'll be a different video. Go ahead and put a Wilkinson bridge on here. Okay. Okay. That's smooth. Smoother anyway. I don't know, I've still got a little bit of edges. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and treat the neck. There we go. This is your Dunlop 65 fretboard oil. I'd probably do this after I did the polish, but I'm doing this now. Why not?
Hi.
Hi.
How was your day?
Pretty good.
Yippee!
I got the toy and restored the toy. Okay. And of course, when I bring the strings back on, I'll adjust intonation and height to get a slightly lower action. This stuff sometimes takes a while to get flowing.
Hey, Papa,
Yeah?
do you want to see this epic sticker I got?
Okay.
Oh, cool setup. I got a Mr. Bean sticker.
Alright, here we go. Now it's flowing. Did you guys like your lunch?
Yep.
Here we go, now it's flowing. I try to get it. I've found that the little applicators on these like to miss right at the edge of the fret, so you want to kind of get it in there. I've seen people use, you know, like furniture wax and stuff, and then they'll use a cloth, and you get way better, quicker coverage than these, whatever, cotton-tipped applicator devices. That they take a long time to start flowing, and you have a hard time getting it up past the edge of the nut, and or near the edge of the nut, or some of the frets. So. But yeah, this fretboard is very dry. It's drinking it up. I can see it's really drinking that up. I'm still have yet to actually play this and feel like it's a good guitar. So I'm hoping that that will happen after all this. The nut's pretty good on this. It's like hard. No, it's plastic or something like that, but it's hard. And the tuning machines are exceptional. Really, really nice tuning machines. All right, there we go. I'll let that soak up a little bit. As I'm looking, there's a kind of a level here at the edge. It's still a little catchy, just a little tiny bit. It's definitely going to need some more work. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Now, of course, if you just touch the very edge of the binding and go up, there's almost no hang. But if you push in with a little bit, just a little bit of force, then you'll start to feel that there can be sharp edges. On your frets. So now to polish this, I'm going to block off the magnets on the pickups, because when you polish the way I do, you're going to get tiny metal filings that can get on anything magnetic. It'll get all over the place. So that'll be something that needs to be taken care of. So I'm going to get my tape. Masking tape. I think this will do. Can't find my large masking tape. Oh. There we go. Okay. I'll just get some, not too huge, but just enough. Okay. Just to block off the magnets. Doesn't have to be a huge amount. Now, if you're doing work where obviously you're going to be using tools near the finish, then you definitely want to use more tape. Cover everything up so as to not damage your finish. And this is going to have stuff all over the place. Get out my handy dandy white t-shirts, which once they get done being used for me wearing them, they graduate to work. Being used for work. Okay, so we get some of this quad-aught steel wool. This is really good stuff. I'm almost out. These have all been used. I need to get another bag. And I'm just going to go ahead and polish this up a little bit. Just to take any kind of scratchy bit, anything off there. And you can see immediately how shiny that's getting. That's very good. And super smooth. I can just feel with my finger that the fret is immediately losing any kind of scratchiness or rigidity. There we go. And it didn't need too much, but yeah, there was a little bit of scratchiness. I'll go ahead and use it on the edge. Carefully, of course, very, very carefully. This stuff is quick. It's not, automotive polish with grinding wheel or whatever, like a lot of people use, with a Dremel. I don't have that, but this is very good, and this is old school. I think quad-aught wool has probably been used more than anything else to do this. Yeah, see, that smooths it up fast. Really, really fast. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Now I'd kind of like to get this edge here. Make sure I'm not touching any finish. You see here, the metal filings are still hitting the magnets. They're obviously, metal is attracted to the magnetic pull there, and then it goes up and connects. Yes, that's smoothing it out pretty good. And I need to get a new bag. So I've got a few things on my eBay list. I've got a Wilkinson rolling bridge that's made for this specific guitar. It might even just be a drop-in where I don't have to change anything. Hopefully it is. But also quad-aught, I need to get that. I'm running low on the body polish. There we go. I also need to get new acoustic strings. If I go over my list of stuff, it's gigantic. I need to get a new small amp for some playing that's not through my, there we go, through my PA system. Because I don't like to have all my gaming computers, my TV, and my PA system all going at the same time, because that's, you know, huge wattage. It's a lot of wattage all at once. There we go. And you can probably see on here, I don't know if you can see how shiny these are getting. And I can feel just how smooth it gets by doing this. It's you can feel at first some of the rigidity, and then just feel immediately how fast it gets rid of all of it. Yep, no rigidity at all. I'll check here. I noticed some older Gibson guitars I've seen in videos and stuff, the pocket actually has a much thicker band of binding. And I don't know if that was a generational thing, if it was only on certain ones, or if it was, you know, part of a custom shop deal, or what's going on with that. But it's interesting to me because most of them I've seen have the same kind of, it's relatively thick, but nothing like this. Oh, it was what was his name? Schultz, Tom Schultz, or the guy with that created Boston, the Boston sound, and he was a technician for Polaroid, I think, a camera company, for a long, long time, until Boston got picked up and got, you know, inescapably deity tier popular with More Than a Feeling, and with some of those other really great catchy songs that they did. His LP has a very thick pocket binding. Like, just look at it sometime. Look up Boston and take a look at his LP, and you'll see really, really huge, abnormally gigantic binding There, this smoothing it out great, and it's rounding the edges. It's finishing any kind of rounding on the edges. This is messy though. It gets everywhere, it gets on everything. And I'll just use a shop vac to pick up anything left over. It's perfect. Quad-aught steel wool is really great for this because it's not invasive enough to do anything really grotesque permanent on the soft parts, but it does what its job is. It polishes the metal very, very well and quickly. I'm going to be getting a shop vac and bringing it down here to clean up any kind of metal that's left over. And almost out of this stuff. And I got a large, very large bag of it, and it's lasted me for years. And I can just tell immediately what frets I've hit and which ones I haven't, just by the shininess, just sheer bright shininess of it. Polished, 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 not polished. So right here on the edge, polished, really shiny, not polished. Yeah, and that's taking care of all of the jaggies completely. And it's also good for your fretboard. It smooths it out. It kind of levels the pores a little tiny bit. You know, it's just a treatment overall, even though it's the messiest thing you can ever do. And I think somewhere, you know, old school guitar techs were swearing by this stuff to get the perfect super fine thin polish on their frets. But I haven't hammered this or anything crazy, nothing too invasive. This is just to start things out, just to see where I sit with the action. I don't want to be as you know, non-invasive as possible at first before I have to really get in there. I'm just, you know, obviously no fret job. I haven't done a fret job on it or anything like that. I only detected the slightest bit of variety in the level, and it was, you know, in my opinion, still a usable setup. I really like how this works though. I love how it rounds the fret edges and it polishes really well. You go through a lot of it though, and it just sheds like a dog in the summertime. It sheds. But yeah, I'm just getting that, and that's looking great, really smooth. Can't recommend it enough, honestly. It's should have it if you're working on guitars. Of course, now a lot of guys today, and I see it more now than I used to many years ago, use a Dremel with one of those soft, I don't know if it's what, felt or cotton or something, and then they use a polish, like some kind of, probably an automotive polish or something for metal, and they just, you know, lay down the polish, and then they grind over every fret, and I'm sure that's probably great. It does a great job. This is for guys who want to spend like $5 on what they're going to do, what they're going to use for their, and it's elbow grease and attention to detail, and the results are good. They're not mirror, like super clean mirror polish, but you know, they are very, very bright. Sometimes I get an almost mirror polish out of it. I've noticed that I can see reflections and stuff in some of these. Are thin, relatively small frets, so trying to mirror polish these, you might not even be able to see an image. Now, I'm feeling it. This one's gritty. Yeah, and it's on the edges of it too. Yeah, very gritty fret. Now it's just totally smooth. this sometimes will be the difference with your and when you have the ever tiniest little bit of rocking, you give it a little polish, you straighten the neck out, give it a polish. And I'm thinking that there's not going to be any rocking when I test it with the neck flat like this. And so that might suggest to me that I want even like the almost indiscernible amount of back bow before string tension to keep the neck flat once it's under tension. And it's always hit or miss, kind of, you know, you have to test it out, be ready to change things around a little bit when you finally do get to that point. There we go. Yes. That is nearly 0 until I reach the very, very top. Oh yeah. That's perfect. Super, super smooth. Bright, shiny. There we go. Okay. And put my weapon away here. And I'm just gonna bring down my shop vac and take up all this leftover stuff. All right. Touching the top, I'm just holding it there. It's strong enough to draw up all that up out of there. Usually I use a little brush tip that makes it a little quicker. I don't have that on me at this moment. Okay. Quick. Get a little bit of wipe down. Okay, now I don't like using masking tape because it really just gets wasted fast. And at first I did what a lot of guys do, and I just totally masked every single fret completely, and ended up just running out of masking tape so fast. I was like, why am I doing this? And after a lot of fret jobs, it got to the point where I didn't ever hit the neck anyway. So there's still a tiny bit up here on the top. This is smooth. That's a lot smoother. But yeah, for now it's just setting it up to get it in a good playable fashion, and then I'll deal with any extra stuff I need to deal with later. So we'll do a quick fret rocker. Okay. And there's obviously there's a radius here. I have little radius gauges, but I haven't tested it. and I think it's probably 11 or 12 or something, right? So what does that mean? For math people, maybe somebody new that doesn't know, they can ask a math person, what is that radius? What does that mean? Well, if you take a center point and then you take a 12-inch string from a center point and create a circle, then the edge that you've created is the radius they're talking about. So when you hear of a Fender guitar neck having a 7.5-inch radius or something, that's actually a very circular surface. When you hear of a 20, 18, 17, something like that, that's flat. That's very, very flat. If you actually see that type of radius, it seems flat. 12 is the ever slightest hint of curvature, but barely, and anywhere in between. You get the levels of curvature, but that's what they're talking about. So if you want to know what a radius is, you can easily just get a push pin, cut the length that you're testing, tie a string that's that length to your push pin, make a circle, and then the very edge of that circle will be that specific radius. Okay, it looks like we did lose some of the unlevel frets in the straightening of the neck. Okay. The deal I'm thinking I'm gonna have fun dealing with is right about here, where lowering the action is preferable. But we'll see. We'll see about where that ends up. Okay, so like I said, I did just leave the strings on here for this, as I like to preserve my strings if I can. The less strings I have to go through, the better. And I do have a bunch of strings, but for now these are probably Diodarios, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with using those until they're gone. Okay. Not my choice. If I'm just going to have any choice of string that I want, even though I'm sure they're great strings and everybody thinks they're wonderful and you pick those out, I think about the overall cost of the strings as I'm using them over time. Diodario's overall cost is prohibitive to me. So I'm not the person that chooses to use Ernie balls or Diodarios or anything like that all the time. I'll use GHS boomers, 10s, 1046s, pretty much all the time, because I can get 12 packs of them for like $65 or something. So if you get strings and you find that you're paying $10 to $12 a pack or something, then when you're going through them, that is prohibitive to have that many strings to be going through that many strings. You'll go through them quick, and then you'll be like, oh crap, I broke this or that string, and you're not going to want to go get one string. Now Doctor, or I called them Doctor, DR though, I guess is what they're really called, DR strings, and some other strings will actually give you an extra high E string, sometimes even an extra high E and a B string with their packs. And so even if I was going to buy single packs of strings, I probably wouldn't pick the more expensive ones. The most expensive string I would get would be a DR, and they sound great. They also come with extra strings. Pretty much all of them that I've gotten have had at least an extra high E string, but sometimes even a high B, or I should just say a B string, in case you are buying them a pack at a time or whatnot. But I don't. I don't buy strings one pack at a time. I always buy them in bulk because I have, you know, over 24 guitars that I'm going to be dealing with. And like a lot of guys out there, even some of the more popular guitarists out there, I rarely change strings. If I break a string, okay, but if I'm just playing, I will play until the string can't be played anymore. I don't, and I'll clean a string off. Sometimes when I play, and I don't know, this is I don't know if this is a great idea or what, but I'll put a tiny bit of oil, like maybe Hopsade or real oil or something like that, just the ever tiniest bit on my finger, and then I will lightly glide that oil along every string, and then it can get some of the nasty off the string, and it can speed up playing a little bit, relax you a little. I don't want nasty naugahyde smelling disgusting skin dirt all over the strings, but I also don't want to waste strings and constantly change strings just because they've gotten a little tiny bit dirty. So I don't do that. Now again, on that subject, and I've said this in other videos just to kind of help with beginners maybe, if you are breaking strings regularly, then that might be you and not the strings, but it also might be an indicator that your playing style would suit a thicker gauge. And so if you buy 8s and you're constantly breaking your E or your B, then you might need 9s. If you play 9s and you think it sounds plasticky and chintzy, you might need 10s. If you play 10s and you're regularly breaking strings, I don't know, you might be in the Incredible Hulk. I don't know what you're doing, but I don't break strings very much at all. It almost never happens now. But, you know, back in the day, when I was young, now 34 years ago or so, when I first really started, I broke strings regularly. And because I was, you know, a kid and I was a teenager and wasn't really able to just go get strings immediately sometimes, that would be prohibitive for learning and for practicing. So and so I decided later on, hey, I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to buy slightly heavier gauge strings, and I don't usually break strings. Now, when strings break, it's often because of a floating tremolo. Like sometimes the block that holds the string will give up and slightly, and the string will come loose. And because it's clipped, then you get the really fun chore of unwinding the whole thing and then stretching it back down and trying to get some more use out of that string. Very, very rarely do I break strings anymore, and I use 10s pretty much exclusively. I've considered moving up to 11s because I'd like to try them, you know. And on that note, for beginners, intermediate, or just people who maybe they play forever but they never do any work on their guitars, they always have someone else do it. If you change string gauges, you will often have to change nut widths or the nut intonation, rarely, but occasionally, and neck relief with certain bridges, spring tension. It opens kind of opens a can of worms with guitar setup. If you have your guitar perfectly set up for 10s, and then you go, oh, I'm going to go to the store today and buy 11s and put them on my guitar. You might have binding at the nut. You might have not enough string tension, so your bridge is raising really high up. All kinds of other little factors might come into play when you decide to do that. So, as much as it could sound on paper, just making that choice and picking up another set of strings, it's almost never that simple. Now with a locking nut, sure, because the locking nut has kind of a V-shaped little surface that the string is clamped down onto to then have it locked down. And then at the bridge itself, you have a metal block that is pushed up against the cut string where the ball end was to secure the string for tuning for the locking floating bridge. Great, but that does not translate to every type of nut with every type of guitar. You may end up having a very difficult time just easily switching to a different gauge. So, and sometimes I think it might even be like kind of deceptive and common practice for a guitar store to recommend 8s for beginners, because they will end up inadvertently, but intentionally selling more strings, because most people are going to vice grip the neck. They're going to vice grip their neck. They're going to strum too hard because they're new. They're going to break more strings, and then they're not going to sell you a 6-pack. They're going to sell you one package because it's the highest markup. It makes them more. Oh, that's E. Can you believe that? That's E. That's E. I did that completely just because. So, probably done this so much that I just automatically great tuning machines. I'll just hand them to it. Epiphone, great tuning machines. These tuning machines are absolutely right on. Every little turn is feelable, registerable. There we go. And now the relief is forming. Now what I should have done is check the truss rod. I was in a hurry, but usually what I'll do is when going through all this, this was a little too quick. I think I did this a little too quick, but usually going through all this, I will have cranked the rod a little tiny bit just to get a good feel for it. This time I was just kind of in a hurry. Honestly, I think I don't want to edit my video. I just want to get the video done and then upload it so I don't have to use some terrible, crappy, slow. Like now it's Clipchamp. It used to be Windows Movie Maker and I could tolerate that, but now it's Clipchamp. And what Clipchamp does is they like upload your video while you're editing it, and then they like download it complete. It's insane. Like, it must be the biggest waste of time and resources to do that, because you have to wait so long for your video to get done editing. I hate it. And Clipchamp locks up on me. Okay. Much cleaner. No vibration. Yeah, almost no vibration there, a little bit. With normal, okay, some normal strumming tension. Pretty good. So while I'm here, we'll go ahead and test the intonation. Now the harmonic is good. Maybe a bit low. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's pretty much right on. I'm getting kind of a brassy. Okay, go for A. Okay. That's it. May have been intonated. A little high. A little sharp. Okay. That's a little flat. Still, it's still seating itself though. I think the neck's still moving slightly. That's high. Yeah, okay, so the G might need to come forward a bit. Pretty good, not bad. Whoa, that was adjustment. Sharp. Okay, so yeah, ever tiniest bit of intonation. Okay. It dropped. So the neck is moving. It's adjusting to the tension. Nice. That's right on G. I'm testing orchestrated. Clean. Okay, now the tension is on. The relief is pretty much where it's going to be. No sharp frets. Nice, clean, smooth. Frets are nice and smooth. I like the nut on this. Okay, so now I guess the next step will be to give it some power. So let's go ahead and turn on my flamethrower and let's see if it belches some flames here. Okay. So I'm using a Tascam DP24, a GNX3 workstation, going through an EMB mixer with a 600 watt powered output. And I just realized it's on the floor. Thank you. sounds great. I like it. I mean, let's listen to this. It's got good, clean sustain, and this is with a clean setting with compression, and yeah, it's got good, pretty good clean sound. Still a little snappy in places. But overall, yeah, it's got a think it has a very good sound. It's got resonance and sustain. Pretty good considering the catchy bridge. Little snappy, like I said. And a roller bridge would get rid of any kind of snappiness. Now I'm always in the neck or in the bridge because I love the bridge. That's where I play most of the time. So, okay, it is greatly improved. Greatly improved. A lot smoother action. No sharp frets going on now. The action's still a little higher than what I'd like at the E. And as I look, just checking, it can go down about 0.5 millimeter and probably still be okay, but it looks like if I do that, the A might be getting this. When someone set this up, they did a good job. They did a good job because it's pretty much, you know, I'd say it's medium to medium high action for what I would do. Good sustain. Okay. Well, if you tolerated that, then okay. I think Epiphones are great. This is a great instrument. I could totally recommend it. Like I said, I'm going to put a standard truss cover on it, and I don't know if I'm kind of like religiously opposed to keeping guitars that I play in a case, unless I'm going somewhere, right? But I might keep this in the beautiful case that it came with. It came with just a gorgeous, what does it say, like R and F and R or something on it. It's got the slash. I like it. It's a great guitar. I really like the nut. Somebody cut the nut perfect, not too binding. I'm probably going to go and just, you know, graphite the nut slots just to smooth up some of the pingy, kinky stuff with the higher string adjustments. Neck is perfect. It's beautiful. The frets are way, way better now. It didn't take much work. I don't think I really gave I think it was a little bit of a hurry. I don't think I gave the lemon oil enough time. I gave it about 2 or 3 minutes to sit in there, but I think I probably should let it sit in there a little longer. It looks pretty good though. No scratches. Everything turned out good. I love the binding on these guitars, and it really honestly just makes me want to try a Chibson and also get a Gibson. I'll always have my sights on, you know, a Goldtop. And I'd like to try P90s one of these days. The only time I've ever tried them was on that black one long, long ago, and it was incredible. But, you know, just like with Dan Electros, I want to get one of their Dan Electros with lipstick pickups just to try them. And I don't want new aftermarket or whatever. I want actual real Dan Electro with Dan Electro lipstick pickups. And I like these pickups. They're really good. I don't think there's anything wrong with them at all. They seem pretty good. They're 8.5-ish output, combined a little softer with about a 4-ish, 4.5, which is common. Knobs are pretty good. You know, it's not a Chibson, but it is a Chinese Gibson, right? So that's what you get with an Epiphone Les Paul. And it says on here, model, Les Paul model Epiphone. right there. So thanks for sitting with me through this one. Okay, more to come. Oh yeah, I'm going to end this with, I also got another really great deal recently, and I'd like to use that for the basis of my next 3 videos, where I talk about another trade that I did, and 3 different guitars that were actually traded to me for one instrument, and these guitars are each going to need significantly more setup and attention, so it's going to take a lot more attention. Than this one was, just a basic setup kind of thing, but these ones are going to need some work, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully anybody who's watched my in bed with guitar videos can come back very soon, and I'm done with my winter hiatus and trying to deal with everything else in life, and I think I have some time to dedicate to working on guitars and showing off some neat instruments. So yeah, stay tuned for another 3 very interesting guitars and a really great story behind how I got them.